some more information has been officially released over on the COD competitive subreddit, basically kind of giving a little bit more information around the C2L Paris Open, aka ESWC, and in some of those details and some of that information, it was announced that there are only going to be 4 North American teams that are going to be automatically put into pool play alongside of Europe's 8, which obviously strikes up an interesting conversation. I'm sure many of you are probably assuming. I guarantee Twitter was a very calm place. There was no issues. No one was arguing that at this tournament that anyone's going to be angry. No, of course not. As Call of Duty fans are, we're obviously very civilized people, and we don't like to argue on Reddit or on Twitter or anything like that. And of course, due to those things that do occur, that obviously allows me to make more videos and allows me to continue my video streak, which I believe is now at 2 or 3. So that's obviously good to see. What's up, guys? Obviously, welcome back to yet again another video. Obviously, we're talking about ESWC today. I'm going to be explaining the format and the reasoning why we should not be angry at the basic tournament totals for North American teams at ESWC. So first off, there is a difference between international and regional events. ESWC is considered a regional event for Europe. Okay, let's get that through our heads. Okay, let's get that through our heads and basically know that ESWC is for Europe and that North Americans are invited to this tournament. Now I want to point this out before I even move forward, right? Do I agree with the format? In some cases, I do because it fits and that's how they're doing it. However, though, I think for future tournaments in general that have a $100,000 prize pool that are in great locations such as Paris, because we all know how great the Paris fans are, I think that there needs to be in place a system that automatically includes to every major tournament, which I'm not sure if regional tournaments are considered majors, because should we be counting those if those aren't? But there should be a level of distribution between North America, Europe, and maybe even APAC as well, if we want to throw them in there. Not to be rude to the APAC players or the region whatsoever, but they've really produced a crazy amount in the last few years to kind of put up as far as pool play is considered. Of course, with the travel, I'm sure it's not easy whatsoever. So I'm going to be discussing the fact of the issues, I think, with this current format. I think it's a decent format for how they're currently doing it, but we'll be discussing that, and I'll obviously be moving forward throughout the video, kind of talking about that stuff. So I'm going to link this down in the description. This is the Reddit thread that I was talking about. This is kind of what spurred everything. It is on the COD competitive subreddit, and I will link this exact article down in the description. I'm going to be reading a few things that are going to be up on screen, so if you guys want to follow along with me, you can obviously feel free to do so. So, this ends up getting released. Of course, it says the tournament is open to all teams from C2L regions, of course, to be expected. The open bracket will be capped at 64 teams. 12 additional teams will start in pool play, bringing the total teams in attending to 76. 8 EU teams and up to 4 North American teams will start in pool play. If at least 4 NA teams choose not to attend, the remaining pool play spots will be awarded to the EU teams. The next EU teams pool play spots are determined by C2L Pro Points. As of February 2nd at 9 a.m. CET, all teams must purchase a team pass. C2L Paris Open will award 10,000 Call of Duty World League Pro Points to the first place team. C2L Paris Open will feature a $100,000 prize pool. For more details, visit the ESWC website. Hope to see some of you there. All right, so with that in mind, of course, they did give some details, and the one that everyone is looking at is that one right in the middle that says only 4 North American teams are going to be put into pool play automatically. Now, if all of North America wants to come over and compete in the open bracket, you are allowed to do that. So basically, this is the same event, but in reverse, that MLG Vegas was. Now, the reason why it's not the same as MLG Vegas, for those who might be curious, is that MLG Vegas was North American's regional tournament. If that's not true, then I don't understand the format clearly, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work. MLG Vegas was North American's regional tournament. EU teams, you guys can come over if you want, and you guys can play, but it's our tournament. And the reasoning why, you might be saying, well, why weren't European teams invited when it comes down to it? Because, of course, 4 North American teams get invited. I'm hoping that if Pro Points came in before MLG Vegas became a thing, that we would have invited 4 European teams over, but since Pro Points weren't really a thing yet, that we didn't really know how to base teams off of certain things, that's why European teams were put in the open bracket, because this is our tournament, this is obviously how things work, and there's no way to judge who the top 4 European teams were as far as Pro Points were considered, because Pro Points, there wasn't really a number for them yet, like they didn't really exist, so it's like you just choose 4 European teams. I probably would have preferred that, but according to their format, it obviously makes sense, because this is considered, ESWC is considered a regional tournament for Europe, meaning that the total amount of European teams is supposed to be higher than North America. Why? Because it's a regional tournament. MLG Atlanta, I'm assuming, and I'm pretty sure, is considered an international event, meaning that the top 10 NA teams, currently as far as pro points, will be considered. I'm not sure when the exact date cuts off. I know it's been announced, but I'm not 100% sure as of yet. The top 10 North American teams and the top 6 European teams, as far as pro point standings are considered, will be automatically put into pool play, which obviously means that they're basically trying to level things out as far as the regions are considered, because everyone knows that North America in total is better than Europe. That's just how it is. Get over it. So that's kind of how things are for that. But the reasoning why they're different than LG Vegas and also as ESWC is ESWC and LG Vegas were regional tournaments, meaning that toward that region, they have the preferred amount of teams. And at normal regional tournaments, you're going to also have, regular group format. You're going to have 4 pools of 4 teams. However, at MLG Atlanta, it's going to work differently at the international because there's going to be a 10 North American limit. There's going to be also 6 EU limit, meaning that there's 16 teams now, plus the fact of having 4 teams coming from the open bracket, I'm assuming, which would mean 20 teams, which would most likely mean 4 groups of 5 teams instead of 4 groups of 4 teams, because you can kind of see the difference, not just as far as prize pool, but also the difference between internationals and regional tournaments is just based on how the entire format works itself, and also obviously changes the entire prize pool, and everything else kind of gets changed up a little bit when it comes down to different tournaments. So hopefully you guys kind of get the format as far as regional compared to international tournament play, but I also want to discuss the fact of having these tournaments be more frequent. Because I feel like the way that Call of Duty is going right now is that we have obviously a problem when it comes down to North America versus EU. I think for future tournaments, we definitely need to send an invite to European teams. We need to focus along the line sides of having the best teams in the world at events, at major tournaments as well. Because now we look at these regional tournaments and do we say, are these majors? Because MLG Vegas, that was a major. If MLG Vegas occurred and no European teams would have went, do you consider that a major? Because now the question will lie and say every win that a team has when it comes down to a regional tournament, meaning events like ESWC, meaning events even like Gfinity London, events like MLG Vegas, really, you can kind of count MLG Vegas in those cases, but imagine if no European teams went to MLG Vegas, do you consider that in some cases, a major win? Do you consider that in some ways a bio placer, or do you put that in your total of victories? Because technically, it's not a major win. Why? Because the best teams in the world weren't all there. So to me, this obviously causes a little bit of an issue just for obvious reasons, because it's very hard to dictate that. And is Atlanta the only major that we've had so far? Is that what you consider it under? Because it's very hard to define the difference between international and regional, because an international obviously is a major tournament. That obviously counts as a win for whoever wins that one. But as far as like tournament placements, however things go, regionals need to work that way also. So whenever we look at the results from ESWC and say a North American team doesn't win that, but only 4 went, does that count as international because 4 North American teams went? Well, no, because there's more talented North American teams than ESWC or than European teams, and if only 4 go because they were invited to pool play, then how do you count that? When it comes down to tournaments in general, tournaments like ESWC, tournaments that have a major prize pool, I feel like it would be a lot more simple if everyone was put on the same scale when it comes down to pro points. Now, is that easy? Obviously not. How do you scale pro points when it comes down to new tournaments to start the year? That's obviously very difficult to dictate also because of events like Call of Duty XP. Do you count titles from previous, or do you count tournaments from previous titles to counteract tournament placements moving on in the newer titles? I mean, how do you get a little bit of a scale basically when it comes down to it and say, well, that player was talented in the last title, is he talented in this one? Let's assume so, but it's not an accurate way to do it. So whenever I tweeted out and people were saying, well, why do you disagree with the format? It wasn't that I disagree with the format. I just think when it comes down to tournaments in general, we need to have a good balance of North Americans to European teams. I understand the fact of having regional tournaments and stuff like that. I totally get it. If the format doesn't work, certain things obviously don't work out. It's obviously good to have regional tournaments. But do regional tournaments count as majors is what I'm trying to ask. And how many majors/international tournaments will we have for this year? That's also a question to be asking as well. So if the year ends and say we have 4 international tournaments, hopefully we have at least 4 international tournaments where both Europeans and North Americans are invited, then let's say that Rise Nation wins 2 of them and Optic Gaming wins the other 2, just throwing 2 names out there. Then does that mean that the only tournaments that should be taken onto record besides Call of Duty XP is that Optic Gaming won 2 tournaments throughout Infinite Warfare and that Rise Nation won another 2 of them? like I said, to me, it works, but it also does it because we have to take in consideration the fact of European teams being invited to specific tournaments. And I'm also hoping that the pro point distribution is done correctly also, because I don't want to have an opportunity where, European teams or North American teams, whichever one, is having an opportunity to get more pro points than another. That's why I know things like Gfinity and ESWC are taking place and whatnot. But I'm hoping that there is, in some ways, toward the future, a way to get pro points and basically put everyone on the same level, to the fact that we invite the top teams in the world. The top 20 teams in the world get put into this next tournament. Pro points. You guys get placed in the next tournament. Well, how do you do that? Because obviously European teams aren't facing off against North American teams every day. North American teams aren't facing off against European teams every day. They're regional. They're fighting in their own region against each other, and you can't base pro points off of that because why? One region statistically is more dominant than the other. So European teams are having, in some cases, a lot easier competition. The top teams, the top echelon of teams, in some cases could be having less competition than North America, because North America is a more competitive region than Europe is. So like I said, it's hard to put into words what I'm trying to describe necessarily. However, though, I think there does need to be put into play a particular format to where, when it comes down to major tournaments regarding prize pool, that North American teams and European teams alike are both invited to these, and there are more than just regional tournaments here and there. I think regional tournaments are good, but maybe there only should be a few, maybe at the beginning of the game, to dictate where teams kind of stand at the time. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe that's the format they're working forward to. So yeah, guys, that's kind of how the tournament format is working. Do I understand the entire format? Yes, I do. However, I just wish that it was maybe taken under a little bit differently. Like I said, it's hard to put a format together when it comes down to just having a title kind of put at your feet and having to move forward with it. And as much as I would love to see a lot more North American teams at this EU event, based on the format they've already put into place, they can't allow that, because it would totally mix match everything to where North American teams have a higher option of getting the pro points than EU teams do. So yeah, guys, that's kind of how things are working out for right now. If you guys have any thoughts on anything that I talked about in the video regarding the format that MLG or the Call of Duty World League currently has in place, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. If you guys want to have any discussions with me, or leave me any personal constructive criticism, feel free to do that as well. Yeah, guys, that's going to kind of do it for today's video. I know we kind of talked about the format, we talked about how everything's work. Just as a conclusion to this video, I would just really like to see more tournaments rather than regional tournaments that kind of base around the fact of having the best teams in the world at each one, and maybe trying to have them on a similar scale to one another. And whatnot. So yeah, guys, like I said, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching this one. If you guys did enjoy this particular video, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe for future content. I'll see you guys all later. Have a fantastic day, and until next time, peace out.